What's up, everybody? So now that my car is kind of, starting to get finally dialed in properly, I've kind of been noticing the weaknesses of the car as a whole. The engine and the tranny's maybe starting to give me some issues with a couple gears, like second and third, but if I'm light on it, it's not a big issue, so I'm not really too concerned about it at the moment. But two of the major issues with this car now are the braking and the cooling of the car. So it was recently just my birthday, and I have amazing friends because they actually went out of their way to buy me a new Koyorad radiator. It's really nice. If you know radiators, performance radiators, you know Koyorad. They make really great products from what I've been told. I haven't seen anything otherwise, so I'm super hyped on this. I'm planning on throwing this in this video. If you haven't told by the title already, this whole video is about getting the cooling system dialed in with this car and getting it able to, get consistent runs and stay out on the track for longer than it would have with the stock radiator and without the hood vents. And I'm gonna try to fab up a oil cooler today. So there's a lot of work to be done, but before I wanted to work on the car, period, I kind of wanted to go drive the car to give like a baseline of, okay, after this many pulls or this long of driving, this is what the temperature is at. So I kind of wanted to go get a baseline for the stock radiator. I do have an oil cooler, a oil cooler, but it's very small. I rigged it up a long time ago. This core is actually larger than the one I have on there right now, so I figured the more oil cooling capacity you have, the better and more effective the oil cooling system is going to be. So there's that, and then the radiator, and then the hood vents, and hopefully, if I can get to it, there's a hole in my firewall. I kind of want to patch that up because when my radiator hose blew off, when the head gasket blew not too long ago, a bunch of coolant sprayed into the engine, or not the engine bay, but the cabin. So that wasn't cool. And I want to make sure that in case anything does happen, that's going to be patched off and I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, I'm going to go drive it. I'm going to go get it up to temp and see kind of what we're dealing with temp-wise. I know, but I want you guys to kind of see what we're dealing with. And I'll show you what temperature it is outside just so we can keep it consistent, and after I do all the upgrades, we'll see what it does. So I'd say we're around operating temperature at this point. So from here on out, anything higher than this is probably just going to be the cooling system's inefficiency or unsuitability to be able to keep the engine at operating temperature instead of, at a higher temperature, like over 200. So I'd like to see 185 or 190 in the 190s for coolant temp consistency. So anything over that, I'm not really gonna be too happy with. But you know, I guess, I mean, it is, what is it? 86 degrees outside. Yeah, I'm just gonna go do some pulls, make sure it gets hot, and see what it sits at after a couple of pulls. So going fast with this car on the street is kind of hard, just given the brake situation. But I kind of gave the car the beans, and the highest temp I saw was 197. So we're not really going to be able to duplicate track, like on track temp and on track conditions, because you know we're not out of track. So that's going to be 20 minutes at a time, just you know beating the car over and over again. But I believe the most I ever saw for coolant temp when I was monitoring at the track last time at Willow Springs was, I think, like high 230s, low 240s. And that's degrees Fahrenheit, and so is the outside temp, which is 88 degrees now. So yeah, it really likes to chill between 190 and 185. That's usually where it likes to hang out and stay there, unless I'm really, really getting on it like over and over and over again, which at the track, that's how it would be. So yeah, I just wanted to do that just to kind of give us, you know, see if we can find any sort of change after we do this. But yeah, I'm gonna shut it off. And now I'm gonna get the hood off while the coolant cools down, and then start doing the hood vents. And then once the car's cooled down, I'll move on to doing the radiator and then the oil cooler. So when you go to remove your hood, it's always smart to just, you know, mark it, like just so you know where the orientation was when you originally took it off. As you see, the paint is, you know, different right there because I have taken off the hood once before when I did the swap. So I mean, it's not perfectly on it, but I don't have any fitment issues whatsoever. But I just still went ahead and marked it with some paint pen on either side, just so I know, because I'm doing it by myself. I just want to know, make sure that everything's back where it used to be. But yeah, I'm gonna work on getting the hood off. It's quite dirty. I'll probably clean it on the bottom, and then yeah, we can get to putting the templates on and start lining it up, measuring it out, and eventually we're gonna be cutting it into it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So now that the vents are done, I'm kind of impressed with how it came out. It's all first try, so I can just go back and clean it up, which I definitely will. I'm gonna go over with paint as well. I'm still kind of debating whether or not I want to keep the raw look or if I want to paint them black. I kind of like the raw stainless look. But anyways, now that those are on, I'm gonna move to taking the whole front bumper off. That way we can get access to the oil cooler and then get the radiator out, because we're gonna be putting that one in. So yeah, I'm gonna start draining the coolant, getting the bumper off, and then try to get the radiator out as soon as possible. Got the bumper off, got the radiator draining, as you see here. I just used the petcock on the bottom of the radiator. I can show you to you guys when I get it out, but I'm just gonna pull this whole radiator support. I'm just gonna take the whole thing off just so I can just lift it out. And I'm actually gonna disconnect these hoses, which kind of hard to see, but in here, oh, you can look at the upper one. So these hose types are kind of a pain. So it's like the BMW ones. You just undo this clip here, and then it just slips off of the radiator itself and doesn't really use a clamp. This is the actual clamp that seals the radiator connection. So yeah, these are a pain, and I'm gonna do it before I take this off, just so I can be able to muscle it off and be able to, you know, get a little bit of leverage without the whole radiator flopping. So I'm just gonna get it out and then get the new radiator in. All right, I got the new radiator all ready to go back in. Got the new, or these aren't new, I'm just reusing them, but it's the top mounts and then the bottom grommets that fit into those two holes down there. I got those on the new radiator. But this radiator wasn't bad. It's just, you know, OEM stock. As you saw when I went and drove it, it wasn't like getting super hot or anything like that, but I feel like just in the track application of things, this will do substantially better, just because of the, you know, the nature of an upgraded radiator. It's a little bit thicker, just able to cool the water a lot more efficiently. So I'm really looking forward to how much this is going to affect the car on the track. Not to say like the street isn't a good place to have a upgraded radiator, but it's going to be, you're going to see the most benefits while you're on track. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and toss her in and get this thing ready to run again. But I couldn't actually use the oil cooler that I wanted to, just because these are female fittings, and on the cooler itself, these actually thread into the cooler, so I don't have the right AN fitting to make that work. So I can mess around with that at a later time. So I'm just gonna focus on getting the radiator in. I already have an oil cooler, got the hood vents done, so we're gonna really see how much better of the cooling, or how much better the cooling system is gonna cool this engine now that it's making a lot more power. most out of the car, it's not going to overheat. So with the stock radiator, yes, it would keep it at operating temp when, you know, you'd get on it or whatever, but it's only to a certain extent. So with this one, it's thicker, it's got, I'm assuming it's got more rows, and it's a triple pass radiator. So the water has 3 times to be able to be cooled off through the radiator, which is significantly better than your typical, you know, side flow radiator. But what I'm going to show you guys right now is not the fact that the radiator makes the car run cooler, but the fact that I can do run after run after run, and the temps will still stay at a reasonable range. Like I said before in the video, it's going to be really hard, most likely impossible, for me to replicate like track conditions. So this is pretty much the best I can do to give you guys an idea of how the radiator is going to do on the track. So I'd like to just take a moment to show you guys how broken this car looks in front of us. Like, hold on, let me move. Look at that wheel. Look at those wheels. I really don't see a point. I mean, yeah, negative camber helps with performance in the corners, but like, I don't know about that. That car looks broken. Oh my god. Alright, so we're at operating temp. So now that we're here, we're just gonna kind of take a detour so that we can go and actually spread her legs and see what she can do. Like I said, I did get a new revision, so this is gonna be even more power, even more ridiculousness, even more race car. I'd also like to mention, it is 84 degrees out. Last time I was filming, it was 86. So that was with the stock radiator, so it's kind of a good comparison because it's about the same temperature. This is the first pull. I'm just gonna see what she's got. It dropped to 77 degrees, but whatever. Oh my lord. That's a lot. Boost comes on a lot faster now. Well. So, pretty much this is pretty good for me, honestly. I mean, when you're talking about being on the track, this is actually really essential, having the proper cooling for the car. The hood vents, that's just an added bonus on top of the radiator. Another thing too that I did was I actually removed the cowling. Yeah, so I actually see the windshield right here. Usually there's a piece of plastic that goes all along across the entire front of the car, and you can see my intake right there because obviously there's no cowling. So in doing that too, it allows air to escape towards the back of the hood instead of being blocked in by that piece of plastic. So if you don't mind having an open gap right here, I mean, when you wash your car, water will get into the engine bay, so just keep that in mind. I mean, same thing with these two, but you know, that's obvious. There's a hole in your hood, or 2 holes in your hood actually, but those 2 things for heat evacuation, maybe even more vents, and then the radiator will pretty much set you up for the track. I mean, it'll give you enough cooling power to be able to do what you want to do Maybe not so much on a hot day, like in Southern California, it gets over 100 degrees on track. But I highly suggest running this as well. I just started running this when I put the new head on, just because I wanted to keep the temps down. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I just stumbled upon this radiator from all my friends, so very grateful for that. I had bought these hood vents quite a long time ago, but I was waiting to get the radiator to install the hood vents just so I can kind of get the effect as a whole. I also did a video kind of a long time ago of the grill shave for these cars, and as you know, the stock grill, it has like only an opening that goes about here to right here, and that's all the opening that you have is this little section, and everything else is blocked off by plastic. So what you do is you take the grill off. You know, with these models, the 15 and up, you just grab this and yank it off, and it comes off as one piece, and you just take a grinder and grind all of the back side of it so that all of the holes are, you know, you can get airflow through it. And that was the main thing. I mean, the crash bar is kind of an issue because it's pretty big, so eventually I'll get a tubular crash bar which will promote more airflow, which this already did on top of the vents and that cowling delete. So the goal is just to be able to move as much air through the front of the car as possible. So that was my goal with that. After we went out and drove it, like I said, it's going to be really hard to replicate track conditions on the street. You can't really execute that kind of, you know, hard acceleration, you know, hard braking, hard acceleration, hard braking, go over 100 miles an hour for like 20 minutes. You can't really do that here. So it's hard to demonstrate the real purpose of an upgraded radiator without being able to show the before and after on track. I was able to do a before on track when I went to Willow Springs the last time. It was a little bit hotter than my previous track days, so I saw coolant temps that were reaching, you know, close to 240 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really high. So without the pressure, that water would have been boiling. So I'm really curious to see how the radiator affects the car on the track with the hood vents, and like I said, the cowling, delete, and then the water wetter, which I haven't really seen, you know, the full potential of. And same with the radiator. The car, the highest temp I saw when we were out just doing a couple data logs and a couple pulls and whatnot, the highest temp I saw was 194. And with the stock radiator, when I was up in the mountains kind of doing the same thing, I saw 197. So like I said, it's not really going to be a major difference in the low temperature range or the operating temperature range. What you're looking at is going to be how much more you can get out of the car and how much longer you can run the car at that level without running into overheating issues. And with the water being cool, these cars are equipped from the factory with water to oil coolers as well, which is just a heat exchanger right on top of the oil filter. So if the coolant is cooler, the oil is going to be cooler. And then I have my oil cooler as well, and I highly suggest an oil cooler if you plan on doing any sort of track driving. Radiator, oil cooler, if you can do the vents, water wetter for sure, just so you can eliminate, you know, any chance that, because ultimately the best coolant is straight water, but depending on where you live, it does get cold. That's why they call it antifreeze, to prevent it from freezing and turning into slushy inside of your engine, so that's not good. But the water wetter actually has an additive in it that prevents all of that. It has, you know, gasket retaining solution to help all the gaskets stay good and all the hoses stay good. So distilled water is what you want to use. Distilled water, and then, you know, that full bottle of water wetter, and that should, you know, help with the heat and keeping the heat down. Because like I said, water is the best way to cool it without any sort of additive, because it's in its purest form, and it's able to exchange that heat more effectively when it's just water. So water wetter makes the water do most of the work and kind of takes the whole antifreeze 50-50 solution out of the equation. More race car, pretty much. Most people that go to the track do run water wetter. So yeah, I'm satisfied with the installation. No problems, you know, no hiccups or anything like that. It's pretty easy install. You just take the radiator support off, take the old one out, put the fans on, or the fan on, the fan shroud, and then drop it back in place and put it all back together. So yeah, I'm just curious to see what it does at the track, and how it performs at the track, because that's where it's really going to make a huge difference, and where I'm actually going to be able to have confidence in the car and not get scared whether or not, like, oh, I'm going too far, or the car's getting too hot, or should I pit, or whatever. So yeah, so next is big brakes for sure, just because this car is way too fast for its own good at this point. So big brakes are almost a necessity. Well, they are a necessity at this point. I think we can all agree on that, right, babe?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thank you guys very much for watching. I'm gonna be working real hard to get those big brakes. Super expensive part. It's around $1,800, close to $2,000 just on brakes. So I'm gonna be working my butt off, trying to get it for you guys, so I can show you guys the before and after, and mainly so I can just go to the track again. I'm really stoked to get back out, but I don't think I can trust the car with these brakes, just because when you're doing 120, which this car does easily now, very easily. If you're doing over 120 and you're going to brake and you do that about 3 times, it's not a good time. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was a little informative. I know I didn't really get to fully demonstrate the difference between having a stock radiator and aftermarket radiator on track, but I do have proof that before I had put the radiator on, the temps were a little out of control. So hopefully I can get back out to the track to show you guys some in-car footage, out-car footage, show you guys all of the upgrades and the difference all the upgrades have made in the engine that has a built head now. And I haven't been to the track with a built engine either, so everything will all come together, and hopefully it'll work beautifully, and maybe we can set some new PRs on some tracks of ours. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.